Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Stratosphere Lounge. I'm your host, Bill Whittle. Stratosphere Studio. It's Monday night, the 28th of April, and here we are. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm feeling better. I don't know, man, something was kicking my butt last several days. Body temperature's been low. You know how I know? I got this. Um, it's it's a watch. Actually, reason I got it is because I saw it on Facebook inexpensively, and it's one of these biometric devices that measures all kinds of different things, and I cannot believe what they're able to do. Bill's dark eyebrows are graying up a bit. All of this will be fixed on May 9th. I'm kind of floofy too. Um, yeah, the I just got like I said, I was very happy with my watch. I've had my watch forever, and it's real nice and thin, and it's not real ostentatious, and I love it. But I've been wanting to just monitor some health things. So this uses lasers to peer into your skin and take a look at your blood, and it's able to do. And it obviously has some kind of. There's obviously an electrical sensor on the side, so it'll do EKGs. It'll do your blood glucose. That's the main reason I got it. Blood fat, blood pressure, heartbeat, all kinds of things. Uh, so it's been groovy and cool, and I'm liking the numbers generally speaking. So look like I jogged all the way over here. Been working out. No, I have lost 10 pounds, however. So it's it's been a real education and generally been pretty comforting. Um, so yeah, it measures my sleep quality and all the rest of that stuff. No, I haven't had a peanut butter smoothie since August, and I don't dare pick them up again. I'm one of those I'm one of those you know confirmed smoothaholics, and I can't do it. I think the make and model. I want to say it was called the Omega watch. Um, it's made in China, and I thought especially when I first tried it because I didn't get all the features going, and there was a plastic film on the bottom that I hadn't removed. That made a difference. But it's actually really pretty cool. I think it was about 120 bucks, so it's about a third of the price of an Apple Watch. And I had no interest in the Apple Watch, but I have to say it also lets me know when I get a text message, and it's making me think about the Apple Watch. But I really do like having and um, did I say Omega? No, maybe that can't be it. No, because Omega is a watch brand. I actually do not. I don't even think it's on here. Let me check. I disconnect this thing. I'm probably just gonna power. It's like pulling the power pack on the robot and Lost in Space. It says smartwatch. That doesn't help as much. And then it says all the things it can do, and it's got a couple sensors on the back here. But I'm sorry to say I can't tell you who made it because I forgot. Um, anyway, it's it's been kind of an education. So um, made me think about, like I said, made me think about getting the smartwatch. The reason I don't like it, I'm actually, well, the only thing I don't like about it, I'm happy with the measurements. They seem pretty accurate. I don't know how spot on the numbers are, but they're certainly showing trends. So I can watch my blood sugar go up and down. Um, the It has an app, obviously, and I was looking at my blood sugar, and I said, yeah, I know that. That looks like Six Flags Magic Mountain. But it was a relief to see the numbers they're using. I was talking with Phil about it, and they're using a different metric than a lot of us use for blood sugar, but this thing is it's got a calibration. According to the calibration that this is showing, I looked it up online and it said that you're diabetic if your blood sugar never falls below seven Fisbins, and so I was looking at that carefully, and it, I did have something sweet, and it spiked it a little bit above 8, but basically most of the time it's down around 5, and if I go without eating for a while, it's down to about 3.8. So that was a relief, and the blood pressure, to the degree that this is accurate, is generally in the neighborhood of 126, 127 over 86, 87, something like that. So not terrible for 66. Could go down some more, but still not terrible. Yeah, no Marisha Dark. It's been a while now. We haven't seen her. I'm going to let the room warm up a little bit and let people come on in and get their chairs. People still out in the lobby and buying popcorn and stuff. However, I do have the final storytelling episode of Story Mechanics with Mike Rowe. We still have the archetype of the common man, which I haven't edited yet, but I do have part 5. And part 5 is by far my favorite. By far. It took a while to warm up. This is true with anything. So we'll have a look at that a little later on once we get a few more people in the room. But I'm super, super, super happy with this. I think it's really by far the best segment of the bunch, and this segment that I'll show you a little later on is the one that I will hand out as a or pass around or send links to as an example of what the show's about, because I just really, really like it. I think it's really good. We have a super chat here from Sun Wukong. Pop Culture Night. By the way, you mentioned that TNG's Captain Jellicoe, e.g. the fishbowl, and everyone wearing a uniform on bridge, everything he changed were the regular cast, I guess it's gripes about the show. So I guess they brought Jellicoe in here to, that's a damn good plot device, I have to say. I just liked him. He struck me as an actual captain, not a Deanna Troi with her, HR department on the bridge. I thought he was like, no nonsense. This is business. Let's whip this. I'm going to talk a little Star Trek just to warm things up. I know this is going to generate a lot of hate, because I just obviously love the original series so much. But the Enterprise D is it's a cruise ship. It's the Love Boat. It looks underpowered with those tiny little warp nacelles, and it's just big fat head. It looks like Stewie Griffith, and the whole attitude on it is just, let's sit in the lounge. We'll discuss it in the lounge. Oh yes, we'll sip our Earl Grey hot, and hello to everybody who's saying hello. It's just weak. If somebody gave me Star Trek, if somebody said, Bill, save Star Trek, I'll tell you what I would do. I would take what happened to I would take the Enterprise on a second 5-year mission. I'd go much further, and I would do it in the movie era. I take Enterprise A, because they sail off into the sunset, and Enterprise is going to be, they say Enterprise is going to be retired, the Enterprise A. It's like, no, I would keep the burgundy uniforms, and I would send them out further. It's like the Enterprise was always supposed to be an exploration ship, and by the time you get to Next Generation again, it's like the Enterprise is the flagship of the Federation. Oh, is it? That's swell. How very Royal Navy. I would just send it out there, and I'd get an entirely new crew, but they would take over from Kirk. Kirk and his crew would basically hand it over, and it would become wouldn't be a first-rate ship anymore. You got the Excelsior, and you've got all that stuff. But that doesn't matter. You're on an exploration mission. You're not in the in the space parade. I just send it out deep, and I'd go right back, because to me, the Enterprise. I just have such a hard time saying Enterprise A because these letters bother me so much, but the Constitution refit is astonishingly beautiful. Nothing has ever come close to it. Nothing. And I love the way the Reliant looked. I love the way that Starfleet looked in the movies. I thought it looked terrific. And I've seen all of the, that by the time you get to the movies, you get the Enterprise D, and then you get Enterprise E, which is real sleek looking, and everything's blended, and everything's, and it's looking less and less and less like Starfleet ship, which have saucer sections. And I don't know. That's what I would do. I thought the Enterprise in the movies was the special effects, the way the bridge looked was modern enough to pull it off. I thought it was freaking awesome. And the rake nacelles on the Enterprise refit are they're great, but that ship is just shockingly gorgeous. And I would take Enterprise out with a new captain, and I just send them out there, away from the Klingons and so on. Eric is saying, the thought occurred to me, Bill, have you seen much of Andromeda starring Kevin Sorbo? Because I wonder if the captain character might fit an archetype. I have not seen Andromeda. I've seen bits of it. I know Kevin Sorbo rather well, but I've not seen Andromeda. I'm confident we can get Kevin Sorbo on the show, talk about being, Hercules, and all the rest of it. Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Dave Big Booty says, or Big Booty says, those glory shots of Kirk and Scotty approaching the Enterprise in the motion picture are great. Yep. And the Star Trek 6 bridge was glorious. Yep. It was fantastic. And that's what I would do. I would send them away. And we would get out of the realm of diplomacy. Because that's what Next Generation seemed to me about. It wasn't about exploration. It was about diplomacy. It was about, Picard has to make a moral speech about how moral we are. And then we go to some other planet and make another speech. And okay. I liked the idea that that you never knew what you were going to see next week. And I know I've bitched about this before. I'll just bitch about it one more time. But one of the worst things that they did was they basically copied Star Wars with that effect, I just it takes away all of the qualities of the Enterprise being an actual ship. The thing I love most about Star Trek and about the original series before they got into that was that Enterprise would leave orbit and it was just graceful. That's the word. Great. Yeah, the warp effect started in TMP. That's right. But then they put it in a wormhole and it's traveling through a wormhole. It just, when Enterprise would leave orbit, it was just, you could just tell it was just she was just accelerating the way a ship would accelerate. And then they also fell victim to we've got the Enterprise and we've got the Romulan ship, so we got to put them both in the same shot. So here we are in the 23rd or 24th century, shooting phasers at each other at a range of 150 yards and missing. Photon torpedoes. Oh, we missed. Well, Captain, the enemy vessel's almost 400 yards away. Unlimited Hornet Work says TNG's worst sin was Wesley Crusher. Yes, that's another thing. It's like ensign, trainee. You got a trainee on the helm of the Federation flagship. Got a trainee, and it wasn't just Wesley. It was other. Careful, ensign. Ensign? I don't know, man. yeah, the original series leaving Kirk's bamboo bazooka, who would obviously understand these things. Uh, the original series leaving orbit cut was just damned graceful and majestic. It was graceful. It came into orbit gracefully. It left orbit gracefully, like it was a vessel. Yes, Chekhov did start as an ensign. I guess he was an ensign, come to think of it. But that wasn't the Federation flagship. That was just one of many Constitution-class heavy cruisers. Anyway, I just, yeah. Eric says, blame Roddenberry for that. Season 1 Wesley was his Gary Sue. Yeah, and Wesley's rainbow sweater added insult to injury. It was just, I don't know, man. It obviously got better, but, and then I remember when I saw the first episode, because I was looking forward to Next Generation, obviously, you know, and I saw the first episode, Encounter at Farpoint, and I said, I don't like the looks of this Enterprise at all. And then you get the villains, you know, get your new villains, the Ferengi. I want to talk about inspiring terror in the hearts of man. You know, these butt-headed midgets with their, you know, energy whips. Yeah, I wasn't that much really into it. That's why the Jellicoe thing hit me so hard. It's like, well, damn, this could have been something. So anyway, they turned now, and even something that I like very much, like Axanar, has the Enterprise and has the Ares, has ships dogfighting, you know, at a range of 200 feet. It's just annoying. It's so funny how the lack of budget helped that original series so much. They couldn't afford to put the two ships into the same frame. I don't. Yeah, there is. Come to think of it, I was going to say I'm not sure there was ever a shot of the Enterprise and Klingon battle cruisers in the same shot, but there was a couple where they were surrounded by three of them. But yeah, you know, it was just kind of like, I will give them credit where credit is due. I thought the Borg were a good, or actually a really good villain, and there was something terrifying about the idea that they were unstoppable. Well, something terrifying about the idea that any enemy of yours is unstoppable. So, so there was that. But overall, I would go back. If somebody gave me Star Trek back, I'd go back to the movies. I'd have a straight white male in command. I wouldn't have an HR department on the bridge. There wouldn't be 3 captain's chairs. There'd be a captain's chair. You know, I wouldn't have the money I would have spent on the captain's ready room. I would spend on the battle bridge. Now that'd be a cool thing to see, the battle bridge. Deep, like deep in the heart of the ship, you know. Eric Blake says, ironically, Jellicoe is very much like how Spock acted when in command when Kirk was incapacitated in that season 3 episode. Spock walking around with a calculator going, we need to increase engine capacity by 15%, get it done. Yeah, but Spock was not a leader of men, and Jellicoe was. Spock, Data was a better captain than Spock. Spock just didn't have the charisma for it. But I don't know. I just saw the Jellicoe thing and I thought, see, this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, yeah, Space Force. There you go. You busted half Nickel Swamp. We have such colorful people here. Now, this is not something I talk about often, but here we are, like I said, just warming up the room a little bit. We had 88 viewers on YouTube and so on. I never did the Star Trek. Sycopolin says, did you ever do the Star Trek experience in Vegas? I did not. I put myself on the bridge of the Enterprise digitally for the Dowd Conundrum, which was really fun. But I think if I walked onto the bridge set, which I think there are 2 or 3 still extant. I know there's one in New York State, but I would like to walk onto the bridge that they used for Star Trek Continues. I really think walking onto that bridge would really do it. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. That would really be kind of fun. I still wouldn't mind having a life-size Jupiter 2, like up in the mountains someplace, just sitting on its tripod legs with the reactor working underneath. That'd be a nice kind of a mountain home to go to just kind of write stories on. You got to go do a screenplay. I'm gonna drive up to the Jupiter 2, sits on top of a mountain in North Carolina someplace, just that'd be pretty cool. Unlimited Hornet Work says it's in Ticonderoga, New York. It's a good venue, highly recommended. It'd be cool to see. And the Riz says I'll be there next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. I cannot wait. Hey, send us some pictures. Eric says he got so excited about the Star Trek experience in Las Vegas Hilton was announced, then he dreamed of going there, and then it died. You busted half Nickel Swamp asked me, who's your all-time favorite superhero, Bill? Have you watched the movie trailer for Superman? Well, my favorite superhero is Superman. And I have not seen the trailer, but I've seen bits of the trailer, and I'm not impressed with Superman, and I'm not impressed with the trailer. I guess inferences are going to be drawn, but because I keep mentioning this guy, but I loved Christopher Reeve. I thought he was fantastic, but Henry Cavill is just so freaking perfect for Superman. I just don't think anybody else should be playing the guy. He's just fantastic. Yeah, I like Superman an awful lot, and I kind of like Spider-Man too. But I'm just not a comic book guy, so it's not really it. I'm more of a James T. Kirk, Starship Enterprise kind of guy. Yeah, Christopher. I bought a T-shirt today. I bought two. I bought one for me and one for Jeremy because Jeremy is a big fan of James T. Kirk and also a fan of Superman. It's a T-shirt, and it's like a almost like a post-apocalyptic future where there's just like lots of bombed out rubble and fire, and it's I guess it's AI generated artwork, but sitting on a concrete block, sitting next to each other, is James T. Kirk and Superman. They're both sitting there looking out over the rubble. It's Kirk and Superman. Let me see if I can find that picture. Because it's just cool. Hang on, might be able to do it. Might be able to do it. It's worth. Fancy Miami, I think, is the company. That sounds right. Yeah, here it is. Hang on. I will put it into the comment section for your viewing pleasure here. In 1 second. I mean, into the feed, and then I'll put the link to it up there. Check this out. Or don't. Oh, come on. Hang on, gotta do it again. Yeah, it's just fun. Let's try it again. Here we go into Twitch. Do it. And here it comes into YouTube. Although YouTube is always very squirrely. Give me a second here. Oops. There we go. Isn't that cool? I think it's just neat, man. I think it's just really, really cool. So I ordered one of those. Roadrunner says the original Superman George Reeves set the standard. Some of you, probably most of you have heard this story. I've heard it so many times I assume it's true. I don't know for an absolute fact if it's true or not. What are you? Go away. All right, let me turn these pictures off. But apparently, this is a legend has it story. Legend has it that George Reeves, who played Superman on the TV show, was doing a promotional tour just going around, with just being Superman. He would just show up and do Superman things. And he apparently showed up at some event as Superman. He's standing there with his hands on his hips, looking like he did in the TV show. And apparently, a little boy, like a 5-year-old boy or something, walked up out of the crowd and had brought his dad's gun with him and pointed it at him, and basically said, Superman, Superman, I want to see bullets bounce off you, something to this effect, right? And George Reeves is looking down the barrel of this real gun that this kid has, and this kid's getting ready to test out, Superman's superpowers. And apparently he said, "Now, son, stop. Don't do that. Because if you pull that trigger, somebody could get hurt by the ricochet. That bullet could ricochet off of me and injure somebody. So let me have the gun. That just wouldn't be safe." I don't know if it's true or not. I hope it's true. It's the coolest thing ever. You want to talk about fast thinking, man. And hard to believe. I just, something about George Reeves, I agree. I liked him a lot. Something about him just struck me as being a guy who would be cool enough to be, thinking that. The movie Hollywoodland has Ben Affleck as George Reeves, and they do that scene beautifully. So that scene's in the movie, Eric, is it? I need to watch that movie. I think I remember hearing about it, but I certainly never saw it. That's cool. Okay. Here's something that you're not going to hear me talk about much, but I just feel like it. And then we'll play the episode. I'm a Gator football fan, and I don't get to watch. I haven't watched the Gators much because they've just had such crummy coaches. It's just horrible watching my beloved Gators just floundering out there without a vision. And I certainly don't watch a lot of pro football, and I never watch the NFL draft. But I have to tell you, man, I have really, really, really enjoyed watching Shedeur Sanders take the slide. I mean, I am really enjoying that. I can't stand Deion Sanders. I'm pretty sure he went to Florida State, which is enough. But watching, yes, the Gators won the basketball championship. Yeah, go Gators. But watching Shedeur, who's wearing a piece of bling like this big, nothing but diamonds, and it's the $ squared. That's his logo, money squared. And watching this guy who'd put together a draft room so that he and all his buddies could celebrate his first choice, first 3 top 5 picks, and it said legend on it and Sanders on it and all of this stuff, and all of this, just all of this ego for a guy. What was his records, like 13-12 or something like that? They retired his jersey. It's just I'm so bloody tired of it. John Pershing said, did anybody see the movie Draft Day? Sanders ended up with the Browns. The irony is too thick to cut. Yes, Draft Day is a great, great movie. I love that movie. Love it. I think it's a terrific, terrific film. And I just wanted to say, I just really, really enjoyed watching him get taken down a peg, because this whole bling, arrogant, trash talking thing. That's not what I want in my heroes. 13-12 at the Colorado Buffaloes. Let's retire his jersey. He's got nothing to do with his dad being the coach, I'm sure. So this whole thing is just really, really, really annoying and unsportsmanlike and just tacky. That's the only word I can think of. Tacky. And to see him go in the 5th round just made my day. Joseph Belinsky says that Shedeur was a media creation by Deion. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I know it's not kind, but Schadenfreude is occasionally sometimes the only joy we get these days sometimes. So yeah, I heard about the prank call. Yeah, me. It's all about me. Roadrunner says all about me. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. You know, the greatest usually don't talk about that much, except for Muhammad Ali, who, you know, really was the greatest, arguably, and I wasn't real fond of him too. Dave's Reels Area 51 says, "You realize, Bill, this criticism makes you racist." It does. I embrace it. I embrace it wholeheartedly. Dollar sign squared. Yeah, you are. You are, man. You're not just the greatest player who ever lived. You're the greatest player who ever lived squared. Just frickin' grow up, man. Well, what else is gonna? I mean, you know. Yeah, if you can do it, you don't need to brag, says Roadrunner. I'm completely right. That's it. You know, it's like scoreboard, man. Just point to the scoreboard. There's your answer. You busted half. Nickel Swamp says Cleveland Browns is where they send quarterbacks to die. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I really got a kick out of watching the hot air go out of that balloon. That was, you know, just, yeah, that legendary room. What was just the tackiest thing. Just the nerve of it, you know. I'm a legend. You're a 13 and 12 legend. It's not a legend. It's not even a story. That's a anecdote. You're an anecdote. Legend. Okay. Yeah, you know, kind of guy that wears $100,000 watch crusted with diamonds. Okay, all right, we'll see. Yeah. So anyway, it clearly was the NFL basically sending a message saying, "Hey, you know, you're not going to come in here and run the team, and Deion Sanders is not going to be the coach of the Cleveland Browns either." So Eric says Muhammad Ali explained he was inspired to do that by watching pro wrestlers. One was endlessly bragging, and people paid to see him get whooped. Yeah, who was that? I used to watch Championship Wrestling from Florida back in the day. It was on Saturday afternoons, if I recall, and it was syndicated. And that was back in the era of Dusty Rhodes, The American Dream. And Gorgeous George. Yeah. All those guys. Daryl LaMonica. All right. I'm gonna fire up the micro episode. Then we'll get into our questions here. It's about 18 minutes long, but I think it's really, really good, and I really like the idea of premiering these things here on the Stratosphere shows. So here we go. I'm gonna start it on YouTube. I'm gonna start it on Twitch. So YouTube, because of the streaming software, it's going to loop, and once it gets to the top, it'll loop, and it'll just be a few seconds before I can get back into it. But I got to shut them both off at the same time to get the whole idea. All right, everybody ready? Here we go. So it's showtime, and again, YouTube. Remember, when it loops, it means I'm on my way. But this is by far my favorite of the segments, and I'm just really happy with how this turned out. So I'm going to watch it as well. Here it comes on YouTube, and then we'll go to Twitch. So in 3, 2, 1, YouTube. When I was doing the historical series for Daily Wire and Empire of Terror and the Cold War, you've got this. You're like Dorothy in the middle of the tornado. You know, there's just, here comes a cow, here's a woman on a bike, and all of this stuff that you can pull from. And the trick to it is, what can humans connect to? What in this enormous tapestry of horror or war or whatever, what are the actual human things that people can connect to? And that storytelling aspect of it, I think, is always about finding the little thing among the big things that can take a person listening to the story and say, okay, I can imagine myself in that world and in that environment.
I mean, obviously we go wherever you want with this, but you mentioned the audience before. Mm-hmm. And I think I just think it's so important, whether it's a cold crowd or a hot crowd, whether you're broadcasting, whether you're podcasting. On the one hand, it's so important to know who you're talking to, but on the other hand, when you talk about your favorite comedians, who are those people really? Are they people who have focus grouped their work? Are they looking
No.
at the? No, man. They're people who are trying to amuse themselves.
Yeah, when Sam Kinison came out and said, "You live in a desert," no, nobody approved. No committee ever approved that. I thought I was going to have a brain hemorrhage.
I did too, man. That was the single funniest thing I felt like
I've
I had
ever
ever
seen in my
heard.
life. Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, and maybe on paper, no. Maybe in a prompter, no. But that level of outrage
It was
combined with that much
absolutely.
truth took my
That's
breath
it.
away.
That's it.
My
Outrage and
breath
truth.
away.
Yeah,
But look, I also,
that guy could tell a story.
oh my God. I think too, oh man, I'm not supposed to talk about this moment, but it so makes the point. I was invited to speak years ago in the Grove of the Bohemian Club.
Were you?
Yeah, and I did.
Oh,
And it was amazing. It was amazing. And I'm not going to tell any stories out of school because I'm not even supposed to tell this much. But it's such an important point. And my story has nothing to do with my speech, which killed, I'm happy to say. In fact, it wound up launching the foundation that I run today because among the billionaires in the audience were some men who really wanted to support my efforts and did. So you just never know where a story's going to go. But here's the point of this one. That night, they do a thing called the Grove Play. And the play is one performance only. And it is an original musical brought to life with wonderful actors and people who play first chair in various symphonies all over the country. And I was blown away by this because I did 6 years in the Baltimore Opera when I was a kid. Talk about storytelling. I mean, you could really dig into the opera. That's everything you need to know about stories.
you were singing in the opera.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that explains your vocal mastery.
Well, look,
Because you're unparalleled at that. That's just that this entire storytelling beat has been about the idea of the simplicity of a guy with a microphone who can hold your interest for half an hour without any of the other bags, tools that we have in the tool bag, right? Music, pacing, lighting. No, it's just plain voice and story. So I did not know that about you, but that explains a lot.
no, my whole start. I crashed an audition for the Baltimore Opera in 1984. They had open calls every Thursday, last Thursday of the month. And if you could get a union card, the American Guild of Musical Artists, you could buy your Screen Actors Guild card.
Oh,
And the problem back then was I couldn't get an agent to represent me. I was only 22. I hadn't done anything, and the work I wanted to audition for was under the SAG imprimatur, and I couldn't get an agent if I hadn't done SAG work, and I couldn't do SAG work without my
with
union card. So I learned the shortest aria I could find, Puccini, La Boheme, crashed an audition, somehow got in, and wound up staying for 6 years because, oh my God, dude, the stories and the music combined, and the girls, it was such a unique environment, and I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget the audiences either. Because if you're in the audience at the opera, you must be this tall to get on that ride, right? You know what's coming. It's only going to be one of the seven stories that exist. It's going to be told with unapologetic grandeur. There's going to be, I mean, nothing about it is real. And yet, for some reason, when the opera is truly grand, it's actually very modest and very powerful. And I didn't know it till I saw it, you know.
when I met my wife, she was living in Russia, and I when I asked her to come visit in America, I asked her if she wanted to meet in New York because I had seen the Broadway version. This would be 2016. I'd seen the Broadway version of Les Miserables a year earlier, and it was about to close, and it's simply the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And in the final 20 minutes of show, you've got this enormous Broadway theater full of thousands of people. Everybody's openly sobbing. It's not like people are dabbing their eyes. You just hear these choked back sobs, and we're walking out to the street, and I had this really interesting thought, Mike, and maybe we'll close the storytelling beat on this, because as I was walking out to the street, I thought, well, here I go out into the real world, and then I just grabbed myself by the back of the collar and just said, no. That's the real world. That's the real world back there. Everything about humanity is in the room you're leaving, not the room you're going into. Les Miserables has every human interaction: father, daughter, brother, sister, lover, girlfriend, got all of it. And I remember feeling so clearly that I was not leaving dreamland. I was walking into dreamland. That while I was in the theater for those 3 hours, that was when I was the most fully awake and actualized and experiencing all of these emotions and just riding with it. And I'm feeling, this tremendous sadness, when she's singing about the man who never came back, and it's just ripping your heart out, and all of this in the suffering of
Valjean. I dreamed
Valjean.
a dream in time gone by.
Yes.
That's Fantine singing that song. And that, oh my God, dude. That's Victor Hugo, writing one of the greatest stories ever told, brought to life ingeniously. If you haven't seen it, find the conversation with the producers who were on the brink of despair because they couldn't find Valjean. They just couldn't find him. And then Colm Wilkerson walks in and sings. And
then he sings, and then the chorus, and people who were, you could just tell, you could just look around the room in New York, and you could just see people, and I don't mean to put a stamp on it, but this is just the sense I got, is that people who clearly, in many cases, struck me as people who were professional atheists are looking at the redemption of this man dying and essentially ascending to heaven on the basis of his spiritual merit. And they're weeping, and they're just sobbing as loud as they can, just the penetrating power of it, just to knock something into your head, and that sense that the real world is out there on the streets of New York City. But once we got out onto the streets of New York City, you start going back until you start filtering out the traffic noise. You start filtering out this. You don't see the interactions with people. But back in that room for 3 hours, I felt like I was really in the real world that we're supposed to live in, at least for some of the time.
Back to Aristotle, just for a moment. All great stories have these peripeteias. It's the moment when the protagonist realizes everything he thought he knew about the world was wrong. In fact, Aristotle said that the definition of a tragedy was that moment in the narrative when the protagonist comes face to face with the inescapable truth of his own identity, right? And, when I watched Les Mis, I don't know that I was consciously thinking about that, but like most people, I'm watching the story of Valjean. I'm watching the story of redemption. I'm watching all these things. But you know what, man? That story isn't a story without Javert.
No, of course not.
That story, to me, all comes down to the moment when Javert realizes everything he thought he knew about the world was wrong. That is peripatetic. He's on the bridge, and he's looking up at the stars, and he sings. There in their multitude. I mean, oh my God, it's...
Yeah, I swear by the stars, and
then at the end, it's nothing but cold and dark and uncaring. And this man, who is this man? What sort of devil is he? He had me caught in his trap, then he let me go free. It was his hour at last to put his seal on my fate, right? He can't reconcile the kindness. He can't reconcile the very redemption he was given by a guy who deserved it.
Because what Valjean does invalidates his entire existence. All of the criminals that he's put away, all of the subhuman filth that he's put into the Bastille for the good of society, he realizes any one of them could have been those people. Any one of them his entire moral structure just collapses,
Right in
and
front
he's
of him.
got no choice. He's got no choice but to fall. Right. That's all he can do.
There's another moment too, since we're going full, theater geek. I had no idea you were afflicted by this as well, but man, your listeners would be well advised to Google the moment in Sweeney Todd
I love that show.
when George Hearn actually loses his mind with Angela Lansbury, and he's got the beetle, you're right. He's got the guy who has taken his wife, destroyed his life. He's got him in the chair. He's got the blade at his throat, and he gets away. And in that moment, he vows to take his vengeance on all of humanity. Whoever comes to his chair will pay the price. And I've never seen, talk about storytelling, man. That song, that soliloquy, I think it's called Epiphany in the libretto. When Sweeney Todd changes, he has his peripetia. I've just never seen anything sung slash hollered, but still be beautiful. The hair goes up on the back of my neck. I was in the second row the first time he killed a guy in his chair, and the effect, like first of all, when the blade goes across the neck, you hear stick. You hear it. It like echoes in the theater, and then little bits of red. I guess it was just red dyed water or something. I don't know what it was, but it flew into the audience. They
Yeah,
spattered people in the face with blood.
that's how you. Yeah,
Holy
that. Now you got their attention. Yeah,
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Of all the props I ever saw on stage ever, the one prop that I'll never forget the most was the absolute mirror finish on his razor blade when he says, "My arm is complete again." And it's just a spotlight just hits that mirror, and it's just like, oh, good Lord.
Yeah. So let me bring it back around to the audience, just because I love the idea that you shared this experience in Les Mis with a sold out house in Broadway. And it was communal and it was powerful. And you went back into the world, all of you, somewhat changed as a result
Yes.
of it, knowing, as you do, that there'll be 8 more performances that week and more audiences will come and they'll go into the world, and they will have been moved and touched by this thing. Imagine that was 30 years ago, Bill. What are
Yeah.
the odds that you and I are sitting here talking about it now?
And people wonder, regular people wonder why actors and writers would, what's the word I'm looking for, mutilate their lives the way that they do in order to stay in this business. And then you realize, no, you get to make that happen. You get to be a part of that 8 times a week. It's worth every penny. It's worth every penny you never made. When I was doing the historical series for Daily Wire and Empire of Terror and the Cold War, you've got this. You're okay. There we go. Yeah, I thought that was a really fun segment, and it was great. I didn't know that Mike Rowe was a theater geek, and he didn't know I was a theater geek. But it was, yeah. Thank you for the kind words. I really, we finished. That's the last of the storytelling beat. We still have the archetype of the common man beat, and then we got about a 15-minute thing about talking politics. But you could tell that by the time we got there, things were really warming up, and I'm just super happy with it. So now the question is, and I could certainly use some advice about this, is how do we turn this into money? I think one of the things that I certainly need to do for the existing Bill Whittle channel, but it is absolutely essential for the Story Mechanics channel, is channel memberships, not just BillWhittle.com memberships. And And again, I think what I need to do is well, clearly have to do is make the point that that this is more powerful than politics. That you reach people that you wouldn't reach through politics, and that conversations like this are conversations that lead to virtuous behavior. And that's, I think, what we're selling during Donald Trump's second administration. Is this great American revival, the idea of a a new golden age? I actually do believe that, and I think if I can make the case that this is a worthy cause, not just because you might be interested in listening to the celebrities, and in fact it's interesting, TV, but that it serves a greater purpose in terms of reaching people who we would never reach, including people who have tremendous reach, like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and so on. This is kind of sneaking in the back door with this idea of talking about the essence of entertainment, because as I realized years ago, and I've talked about many times, Hollywood is about as left-wing and liberal as it gets, but entertainment is fundamentally conservative. It's about heroes. It's about action. It's about honor and courage. Nobody writes movies about committees. Nobody writes movies about. There's no great protest movie, the even the movies that are about social justice, so to speak, like Gandhi, for example, are still about individual characters. And with the number of really top level conservative talent, and guys like Gary Sinise and John Voight and all these people who I know, and many of them I consider to be close friends of mine, I think talking about this kind of stuff helps move the needle on the culture. So that's my general outline for the pitch, and I sure would love to get some feedback on it before we get to the questions. So I'd love to know what you guys think. If you're a member, what would your suggestions be? And if you're not a member, what would you want to see in order to make it part with $9.95 a month? I think that's really the issue right now, because it's taken me pretty near a year to get everything in place and get the stuff in the can. But now we've got stuff on the shelves, and now it's time to convert this into income, because we gotta keep this thing rolling. Once I can get the story mechanics is essentially up. The set is ready for the next guest. All of the stuff that the microphone, my mic was hot on the micro thing, so I learned a few things. But once we get this thing going, then I can shift gears to Major Mace Mattingly, and I can hand off some of the editing and all of that stuff. Now, either I'm being much more interesting than I usually am, or I've lost the feed because the comment sections are absolutely quiet. But I'd be very, very interested in hearing from people live, because I know most people who watch the show watch it recorded after the fact. But we've got 140 people here. So how would you make the sale? That's my take on it. But I don't know. Since I'm not a salesperson, I don't know if it sounds as good to you as it does to me. So, hey Bill, who wrote the best reflections and inspirations on becoming a writer? I don't know. Yeah, Kirk's Bamboo Bazooka's got an important point that I need to remember. The right must create culture that is compelling. See, that's something that I forgot to mention in this pitch, and I'm writing it down right now. One of the things that hang on. This is the sales pitch right here. It's a 3-word pitch. It's a 3-word pitch. And thanks for helping me get to this, Kirk. The 3-word pitch for this is an alternative narrative. Right? We have gotten very, very good at talking about the left-wing narrative. We've been very good at pointing it out. We've been constantly criticizing wokeness and showing how destructive wokeness is, and all of this stuff. And we're constantly criticizing, and yet what is the alternative? We had this problem with the Tea Party, where the Tea Party was funded to stop Obamacare, which was an abomination. But what did we offer in its place? We didn't have anything, and there was plenty of stuff. There's tons of stuff that we could have done in terms of returning healthcare to the days of paying the actual doctors instead of paying the insurance companies and the government to pay the doctors. But in any event, it's got to be about the alternative narrative. So that's the appeal to conservatives. Dave's Real Area 51 says not narrative, truth. Yeah. Oh, it may be an alternative narrative based on truth. And based on virtue. I think virtue is a real important word that we need in here. So the great part about having about names is you can draw people who wouldn't be there otherwise. And I would like very much to be able to leverage this to get into the movie commentary biome. I'd like to be on Drinkers after hours or whatever, and get into that space. So we can't really call it an alternative truth, because there is the truth. Anyway, I'll refine this, but it's getting time to actually start getting members up there. Now, I've been, like I mentioned earlier, just been really afflicted by some kind of little bug. So for the last 4 or 5 days, I've just been really out of it. During the weekend, Natasha and I on Saturday night, we were actually thinking we might have to drive ourselves to the clinic because we were just laid low by fatigue. And my body temperature has been really low. There's a point to this, not me just, bitching. But like for the last several days, my body temperature has been 96 even. And so it's taken away some of the time for getting the website up and polished and the sign-ups up and polished. But yeah, I could sure use some encouragement on this, because I basically bet the farm on this thing, and I think it's really got potential. One of the things that I learned from Natasha's channel, because we started Natasha's channel and that took some time too. It's another job, which I love. It's been really great for the two of us to be working together on this, but it's every second or third night it's another hour or two here working on her fantastic stuff, and I really enjoying spending time with her working on that. But building her channel, it's and I know that Daily Wire does this. You got to put money into promoting the videos. One of the reasons you can get videos up to up to, 6-figure views is you put some money behind them so that they show up on people's screens. And that's one of the things that we need to be doing too. So anyway, once I get this up, I want to pivot to Major Mace Mattingly real hard, because that's much more obvious, kind of a mentor for Gen Z and the alphas and stuff. So there's a lot to do, and Grok is very, very good at this. I did when I had completely neglected my X channel, my X account rather, and I was doing posting with real time with Grok, and Grok was saying, okay, give me the numbers at 620. We gave him the numbers at 620. He says, okay, put in a retweet this, and it was really kind of fun. So yeah, Eric's right about this. My main advice on how to turn story mechanics into income: be sure to end every episode with the stinger of, if you want more of this, contribute here. Make it an NPR style push from viewers like you. Yeah. So I can always add that going forward as well. But anyway, I'm looking forward to doing the common man and the hard work ethic thing that's coming up. Kirk again is saying, find where people have become disheartened by the leftist narrative, ready for alternative stories that redeem the complementary natures of men and women might be a good starting place. Yeah. One of the people I want to get early, I think probably, maybe, I haven't talked to Gary in a while, but I'm going to try and get Gary Sinise next. One of the people I want to get real early is my friend Kelly Carlson, because first of all, she's just a knockout, but secondly, she's this business about the destruction of the kind of the natural roles for men and women that the left is pushing, highly masculinized, aggressive women rather, really, really aggressive masculine women, and very, very passive and weak men, and it's great having somebody kick ass like Kelly coming in, who's obviously a real fundamental conservative, and saying no, nothing. This is not a step down. This is how it's supposed to go. This is how it's supposed to be. So anyway, that's that. So here we are. We are. Is that all? Really an hour in? I'll be darned. Let's get to some questions, why don't we? And we'll see whatever we can see out there. Okie dokie. Anyway, thanks for the kind words. I felt really, really, really good about that segment, and I just edited it just prior to showtime. So that was my first time really seeing it all the way through in one place. So that was nice. Okay, we're firing up the old Betsy here. Feel free to go make a sandwich or maybe a casserole or a lasagna, something, while we load the webpage here. Working on that. I know I've been saying working on that for a long time, but in any event, there it is. Here we go. Stratosphere Studio questions for April 28th. Curated by Roadrunner. Thank you, Roadrunner. It's really very kind of you guys to do this. Let's have a quick scroll down and see what we got on the dance card here. John Pershing says, too obvious to mention. Don't emphasize that this is story mechanics to start. Push micro Gary Sinise, John Voight, et cetera, to get the people who are interested in whatever they are doing. Yes, that's it. Get their fan base involved, and get Mike to promote it, and Gary to promote it, and John to promote it, and to their people. And one thing I didn't record, which was idiotic, and I have talked to Mike's producer, and I don't think it'd be a problem, is a pitch for membership from Mike. So next time that he's sitting in that chair, I'm see if I can get him to do it. Hey, you need to go over to BillWhittle.com and become a member, because otherwise you're a communist. Hey, Derek. All right, here we go. We got a Roadrunner. We got a Marusha Dark, who's not here. I haven't seen for 2 episodes now, or 3. Ray Juarez, Road Rider, Eric Blake. Good. That's a bite-sized entertainment. So let's go. Roadrunner NM. Greetings, friend Bill. Hello, Roadrunner, and thank you again for everything. Now that you're nearly finished posting micro story mechanic shows, have you scheduled your next guest? How many story mechanic shows do you plan to do before you resume work on the Colonies, Major Mace Mattingly, or any of the others? Inquiring minds want to know. Well, I talked a bit about that, so I can kind of put a little cherry on it with this. The people that have already said yes are Gary Sinise, John Voight, Adam Baldwin, oh, come on. Come on, Billy. What's the matter with you? Tom Dreesen, Kelly Carlson, and people who I am sure would say yes would be James Woods. I can't speak for them, but I'd be surprised if they said no. Dave Zucker will be a lot of fun. And I feel like I'm missing several. I know Kevin Sorbo. So I'll talk to Adam Baldwin about playing the bad boy, and I'll talk to Adam Baldwin about how, because Adam Baldwin got a lot of laughs on Firefly. And yeah, we need more women's. Exactly. It's a little tougher, but not impossible. And then there's there you go. So, Nick Searcy, certainly, obviously, yeah, Nick Searcy. And then so I know Nick really well. You won't find many people that admit that, but I'm not the kind of guy who, who's that concerned about his social image. Then those are the people I know. Then there's a lot of people I don't know who I'd really like to talk to. I'd like to talk to Mike Jitlove. I'd like to talk to a lot of people. I'd like to talk to Billy Mooney, to be honest with you, but I think Billy Mooney is really, 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 really liberal, so that might, since I don't know him, that might take it a little bit tougher, but, it's worth asking, so we'll see. I'm not worried about running out of guests at all. I'm sure. Well, I'm not going to speculate right now. But in any event, the point about pivoting to Colonies and Mace Mattingly and all the rest of it is getting it set up was the hard thing. Getting it lit, getting the set right. It took forever, and mostly having a proof of concept episode where it's in the can, right? I mean, it's done. It was a lot of pressure with the micro thing. I was using this Riverside software. I was thinking, what if the mics fail? You just never know. So, yeah, I think that would definitely do it. I think what I'm trying to say here is getting the thing launched and spun up was 80% of the work. Doing episodes is 20% of the work. Zach Levi is certain. I'm not certain, but very likely. I know Zach rather well. Not crazy well, but rather well. Yeah, I'd really like to talk to Bill Mooney because grew up with him, and you never know. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I got the idea for story mechanics from Cameo, which, if you haven't heard of it, X-Ray Star Gaming, thank you, and I appreciate that. And I've been out of commission for a week, and I definitely owe people emails and calls. Clint Eastwood is a bare possibility with Tom Dreesen. It's not impossible. It's not likely, but it's not impossible. Kelsey Grammer I've met once or twice. Adam Carolla I don't know directly, and Kurt Russell I don't know at all. Dennis Quaid I've met a couple times. I think Dennis Quaid is a possibility. I'd like to talk to him about. I'd really like to talk to Dennis Quaid about The Right Stuff and Breaking Away. Breaking Away was convinced me that little films could that they just really, you know, that you could make a movie for $1 million that really wanted, you know, really liked. I love that movie. So we'll see. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that, and he also included people born in the 50s. I was born in the 50s. I just snuck in April of 1959. People born in the 50s have lived in 8 decades, 2 centuries, and 2 millenniums. We had the best music, fastest cars, drive-in theaters, soda fountains, and happy days, and we're not even that old yet. We're just that cool. Amen. Marisha Dark, who is missed here, so I don't know if you get to watching unrecorded Marisha, but yeah. Hope you're doing well, and sure miss having you here. Bill, you previously said that the universe likes elegant solutions and that you were looking for a way to essentially hack reality for the colonies without violating existing physics. Toward that end, I offer this idea I came up with for your consideration: balloon theory. If we think of the universe of space-time as existing on the surface of a balloon, and that balloon is being blown up, we can account for the uniform expansion in all directions. But whether the balloon expands at a constant rate or an increasing rate, it remains true that the balloon exists in some wider context that no one ever really talks about: the surrounding higher dimensional space and possibly time outside the balloon, outside the universe. Yeah, one of the things that's hardest to understand, this is where I run in again to my term that I just like so much, is the horsepower limitation. We are able to understand things symbolically and conceptually, but we never can really understand them. One example is if the universe is expanding, you think, okay, it's expanding into something. What's on the other side of that expansion line? And the answer is nothing. And you say, well, you mean nothing? You mean like black? No. Is it just like a white ping pong? No. Well, is it? No. There is nothing there. It's not empty. It's just non-existent. That's almost impossible for the human brain to really understand. We can certainly work with it. We can do physics and math with it, but we can't really comprehend that there's nothing on the other side. We just think, okay, nothing means like a big dark empty room. No, there is no room. There is no vacuum. There is no space. There is no nothing. There is nothing on the other side. That's tough. Back to Marisha, general relativity says that large enough scales, energy, and time symmetry are not conserved within the universe. However, if I poke a hole in the balloon, air will leak out into the wider domain, if there is a wider domain. So the air is conserved not just entirely inside the balloon. The implication is that energy and time symmetry are thus conserved in some grander multiversal superstructure that we don't have access to directly, but which would still be mathematically rigorous and balanced. Okay? If we limit ourselves to thinking of reality as only consisting of 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time, we get complicated, unintuitive things like time dilation and the speed of light being a hard limit. But if we allow for more than that, 4 space, 1 time, or 3 space, 2 time at least, then the need for things like time dilation in general relativity goes away. The solution becomes much more elegant and intuitive. This could also explain a lot of the quirky things about our universe. For instance, maybe black holes are in the Bootes void exists because someone's got their thumb pressed onto the outside of our balloon. Maybe that explains dark matter, warp drives, and entanglement too. Ties nicely into simulation theory. If we consider that the developer is necessarily outside the dimensions of their simulation, they're the ones blowing up the balloon. What do you think? Well, I think I think that my interest in cosmology is interesting cosmology. Oh, that's a good line. Dave Big Booty says, black holes are where God divided by zero. So I have an interest in astronomy and cosmology that is an intellectual interest, but I also have a storytelling interest. And my storytelling interest is whatever we end up doing for the colonies, I want it to be something that nobody has ever heard before. I don't want it to be wormholes or stargates or warp drives, or it's going to be, and this is why I'm so drawn to quantum information holography, because it's brand spanking new, and all of the terms and all of the jargon are really new. I don't know how long. I mean, warp drive, Star Trek was 1966, so it's 60 years old. Quantum tunneling has been done before, but warp drives, stargates, wormholes, all that stuff, that's all Einsteinian astrophysics, and I'm looking for astrophysics that are post-Einsteinian, that make Einstein's view of the universe look like, have the same effect that Einstein's view of the universe had on Newtonian physics. That this is a much, much deeper understanding of how the universe is built, and there's something about quantum information holography that feels that way to me, very strongly feels that way to me. Qubits and spin and color and interference, encoded packets of quantum information, obviously entanglement, superposition, those kind of terms are what I'm looking for the science fiction aspect of it. Is stuff that sounds like, okay, we're talking about even though we're set in the 23rd century or whatever, we're using 21st century physics, and there you go. So there's that. The infinite improbability drive. The one line, I mentioned this before when I played those videos, but there was one line in those animations for quantum information holography, which had admittedly a very, very kind of hippy dippy, kind of a too many mushrooms kind of vibe to them. But one line in there really struck me. Newton says that planets orbit because there's a force, like a tether, like a cable called gravity that holds an object, a planet, to the sun, for example. Einstein says that planets are moving on a straight line through curved space, but quantum information holography says that planets are moving through the path of highest probability. And I love the sound of that. That the orbits of the planets are the most probable paths because of the way that mass affects quantum qubits. It's the most probable path. I love that. That's just really, really exactly where I want to be. I really, 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 really like that a lot. Probability brooch. Yeah, and things like strange attractors and and chaos theory and all of these terms. So I got to get moving, and in order to get moving, I got to get some members, because if I have some members, I can hire some people and I don't have to do everything myself, which would be really nice for everybody. Things that happen a lot more quickly that way. Moving on. Anyway, thanks for the question. Moving on. Road Rider. Story mechanics, you didn't pull those micro questions out of my butt. You and Ro have a pretty obvious friendship and are comfortable with the friendly banter stuff. You probably didn't wing it on questions for him. You must have had a list as a guide. But with each of the other potential guests, the question, how do you go about crafting questions and styles of asking and conversing with Gary Sinise, John Voight, and others? Who do you imagine will be the least talky bill to get them to roll on stories for examples of storytelling? I knew what I wanted to talk to Mike about. I made some notes. I made extensive notes for John Voight. Um, I wanted to, I wanted to, with John, I wanted to dissect Midnight Cowboy as a script, and how the actor interprets the script. It's an unfortunate choice on one level, since did I skip Ray Warris's question? Yes, I did. I'll come back to that. Thank you for catching it, Eric. Um, the Because Midnight Cowboy was rated X, and I don't know if it still is rated X. It certainly doesn't feel like an X-rated movie. It doesn't even feel like an R-rated movie anymore, to be honest. It really doesn't. It doesn't strike me as even an R-rated. I'd call it a PG movie by today's standards. But there's lots and lots and lots of little things and little beats in there, and I want to know how it works. I want to talk to John about the Heart of Gold, about the fact that he plays a character in Midnight Cowboy, and he does the same thing in The Champ, who are vile characters. They do bad things, but there's an inner light that John has. It's an inner innocence, and that shines through and saves the characters. They do bad things, but they're not. But they've got the heart of gold. If you saw The Champ, I mean, Rick, and I'd really, really like to talk to Rick Schroeder. Really, really, really like to talk to Rick Schroeder. I think that's a real opportunity too. Rick is, got eaten a lot by the Hollywood machine, but he didn't sell his soul out to it. And Rick Schroeder's performance in The Champ is supernatural. How a child is able to do that is just astonishing. So that's basically how we're going to roll with story mechanics moving forward there, Road Rider. Let me go back up to Ray Warris. Sorry about that, Ray. Good evening, Bill. A movie about Reagan came out back in August, and as expected, the audience score is 98 positive, while the reviewer score is 18% positive. It also has John Voight as a KGB agent recalling Reagan's life. I have to see that movie. That's the Dennis Quaid movie, isn't it? Do you think that review sites are even useful for telling if something is good or not anymore? I think that the audience reviews are very useful. It's been clear for a long, long time that the professional score, the reviewers are bought and paid for. There's no question about that. I mean, Snow White got a 1.2 or something, but the pros gave it a 6 or 6.5 or something. There's no question that they're paid shills, and we are we are well into a world where people are looking for authenticity. This is why Critical Drinker is such a phenomenon, and there's no other word for him. He's a phenomenon. He can make or break a movie. And the reason that Critical Drinker is so exceptional is, first of all, he's very, very, very good at what he does. He's a screenwriter and a novelist, so he knows good writing and bad writing. He's got a clever gimmick, and that's, I don't mean any disrespect by that at all. Major Mace Mattingly is a gimmick. He is mostly negative. Most of his reviews are negative about movies he doesn't like, but that adds credence to the ones that he does like. I saw a review for something called Warfare that he reviewed just a couple days ago, and I'd never even heard of Warfare, but I saw the review for it, and now I wanna see it. So, by and large, you get the sense that he's not bought and paid for. So I think that the review sites. I mean, look, Rotten Tomatoes is just a joke. Rotten Tomatoes sold out very, very quickly. It was a phenomenon briefly, and it was a phenomenon because it was honest and it was authentic. And then once it became a phenomenon, the machine bought it up and ate it. So I don't know. I I certainly trust his taste more than I do any of the the so-called professional reviewers. Now there was a time when film criticism was a serious business, and back when I was doing Sunday Morning Shootout, which I edited, I don't know how many seasons we did, 164 episodes or something. You would have film critics from Variety and Hollywood Reporter, and some of that was serious film criticism. Film criticism is a legitimate thing, and Drinker doesn't really do in-depth film criticism, although he certainly could. He knows his format, but really, I think it just comes down to: do you trust the person to be honest? Are they paid for? And I think that most of these review sites are clearly bought and paid for. So I don't ever give them any credence whatsoever, personally. So there you go. Last one for the night. Eric Blake. Tonight, the case of the artisan addiction. Well, I think perhaps the biggest question that conservative would-be artists ought to ask themselves is, if the biggest complaint we have about lefty woke art is how it's all about the message, then why are we so quick to center our own art around messages of our own? Even leaving aside our apparent inability to grasp the concept of subtlety, is our answer to leftist propaganda just to do propaganda of our own? You can't have your cake and eat it too, or can you? It's simply a matter of better propaganda for the good, and if so, why are we so bad at even that? So let's, I just got to deal with this. Dave Big Booty says, Red Letter Media's takedown of Phantom Menace was wildly entertaining example of film criticism. I forget his name, but the guy at Red Letter Media is a genius, and his film criticism is astonishing. Those three, the Red Letter Media's criticisms of Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith, Plinkett, the Plinkett reviews. That guy is absolutely brilliant. The one line he said that I'll never forget is, they were talking about, when Lucas made the decision to include kids in the movies, make a movie about kids, because kids would identify them with the kids. And he said, kids don't want to identify with kids. He said, imagination doesn't work that way. Kids want to be Han Solo. They don't want to be Anakin Skywalker. In Phantom Menace, they don't want to see themselves up there. Kids never want to pretend to be kids. Although I have to say, I'd probably have to make an exception for myself in the case of Will Robinson. But that's only because that's why I want to talk to Bill Mooney. It's like he gave like millions of kind of smart kids a chance to see what they were capable of. The show got really campy and silly, but that first season, man, his dad's flying around on the jetpack. They got that one-eyed Cyclops giant monster thing, and it's captured his dad, and freaking Will Robinson goes out there with a laser pistol. I wanted that laser pistol real bad too, and just pews the giant with his laser pistol, and it's like, man, yeah, that's cool. You save your dad like that often enough, he's going to let you fly in the jetpack. And so there you go. So anyway, to answer Eric's question about propaganda, so the first thing we have to do to answer that question is we have to define propaganda, and it's common in its common usage, and this is a fair enough description. You would say that propaganda is intentionally lying or structuring true events in such a way. It's intentionally misleading. It is propaganda is a is a method for political outcome and not an entertainment outcome, right? So that's what propaganda is. Propaganda is the use of various media, storytelling, all of the elements, music, all of it, in order to affect a political outcome rather than an emotional one. So if we call that propaganda, then yes, the left makes propaganda. Snow White is a boss bitch. She don't need no man. She's an independent leader who's going to form a rebellion in the kingdom, and she's going to use her power to bring about equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that's what the Snow White remake is all about. That's propaganda. You 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 might make the case that something like The Chosen is conservative propaganda, except that in the case of The Chosen, I just don't think that you're being. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is this: if your story is about politics, if politics show up, you have failed. That's my take on all of it. Hornetwork says, let the character's actions be the message. Yes, and this is what I'm trying to do with story mechanics too, is that it's about moral behavior. It's not about vote for the Democrats. It's about this is a moral character. This is an immoral character, and there are, I believe, and I'm sure pretty much everybody watching this believes that there are things such as good and evil, and that there is right and wrong, and that some behaviors are to be revered and respected and emulated and repeated, and others are not. And when you get down to it, once you start talking about virtue, you're on winning ground. And if you're talking about politics, you lose. Now, there's a term, and it's a bit of a pejorative term, and I don't mean it to be, because I have respect for the people that make it, and it does do some good. Sometimes the choir needs some preaching too. But there is a term called a church movie, where a church might put together $1 million or $2 million, make a movie about, I don't know, atheism. You could call that propaganda without the negative connotations. It's basically trying to manipulate. It's basically trying to present a side of the argument. And I just don't think those things are very effective. I mentioned The Chosen. I think The Chosen is extremely effective, but the reason I think The Chosen is so effective is because it's so the actor who plays Jesus is so unbelievably human and charismatic. I remember the first time I saw clips from The Chosen, I saw Jesus smiling and happy. And I thought, well, that's attractive. When the first clip I ever saw of The Chosen is, thank you. One game says your veneers are gorgeous. They're, I don't know if they're veneers. They're all crowns, I guess. Same thing. Yeah, they're not my teeth. My teeth were not so impressive. But watching the first clip I saw of The Chosen was where he heals the cripple at the pool, and when he's healed, and he looks up at Jesus, and Jesus smiles and almost cries. That Jesus is happy. The person who's been healed is obviously happy, but Jesus is happy. And I thought, that is so attractive. It's such a it's you never see this. You never saw the Chosen captures the humanity of Christ in a way that I have never seen before. Jesus cries. He cries out of sadness. He laughs. He's a real person. And so is that propaganda? I don't consider it to be propaganda. I consider it to be excellent storytelling. I don't get the feeling that The Chosen is saying, go out there and vote for Donald Trump. I think The Chosen is talking about this is a life and a philosophy to emulate. I just think it's incredibly well made, and that is somebody who I do know, and somebody I need to get on the show, and that is Dallas Jenkins, who I don't know very well, but who I spent some time with back in the early days of FOA. So I'd love to talk to Dallas about that, because it's a great example of the Chosen has moved the needle. It has moved the needle, and so no, we should not be making propaganda, Eric. Propaganda is ineffective, and and we live in an age where the currency, and this is good. It's taken me a long time to understand this, but the currency of the age is authenticity. If I had made Story Mechanics 10 years ago, I would have had a graphics treatment. I did a number of interviews called After Hours, and had these beautiful, After Effects graphics, and we were in little boxes. There was animated plates and all this stuff. It's like, nope, nobody wants that anymore. It's all about the authenticity. So I think we go on. I think we go on authenticity and just have people doing good things and bad things, and resist the temptation to have your character, your protagonist, be spotless, because that's a Mary Sue, right? A Mary Sue is the spoken articulation of a person's point of view. These are the things I believe in. This person represents all of them. Everything that this person does is noble. They never fail because they're on the side of righteousness. They've got all of these talents and all of these skills. It's a trap. I was talking about Jon Voight earlier. The genius of Jon Voight is that Jon Voight can play an extremely flawed person, but there is something inside of Jon Voight. There's an innocence to the guy that comes through, and knowing Jon rather well, that's not something he fakes. I've seen Jon tear up at so many things. I've seen him tear up when we've had service members at some of these meetings. I've seen him tear up at any kind of talk about any kind of talk about America. He's just a big-hearted guy, and that's attractive as a message, right? It's like, no, I mean, in Midnight Cowboy, he's a prostitute. He's a male prostitute who becomes a gay male prostitute because he has to, but basically, he makes a living off of buttering up, older women and taking their money, and he gets down to some very, very, very dark places there. And yet there's an innocence to him that you find out in the story that his childhood was really, really so screwed up that his outcome was inevitable. But when the movie is over, he's a better person for having met Ratso Rizzo. And John Voight is redeemable, but Rizzo isn't. And that's fascinating to me. I mean, it's just fascinating to me. So that's basically the way to do it. The guts of your question is easy to answer. No, we should not be making propaganda. Anything that sounds like a message is a mistake. I don't know if it was Louis B. Mayer or Sam Goldwyn or one of the old studio heads who said, "Hey kid, if you want to send a message, use Western Union. You know, we're not in the business of sending messages." And yet, there's no message. There's no overt political message in It's a Wonderful Life, for example. But It's a Wonderful Life is a story about virtue, gratitude, um, responsibility, regret, um, transcendence. You were One of the questions earlier was how it, just the one right above it. Road Rider's question was how do you come up with questions for guys like Gary Sinise? And one of the questions I had in mind for Gary was I want to talk to him about Lieutenant Dan, but I want to talk to him about Lieutenant Dan as Orpheus. Orpheus went into the underworld. Orpheus went to hell and came out again. And he was the only character in Greek mythology that ever did that. Once you visited Hades, that was it. Nobody walks out of hell. But Orpheus walked into hell and walked out again. Thank you, Swamp. Thank you very much. Very kind. Good luck at work. Have a great day or night or whatever the case may be. Look, I actually can make this even more simple, Eric. If you have virtue on your side, you don't need propaganda. Propaganda is distortion and manipulation. And if you're on the side of truth and goodness and righteousness and courage and heroism and virtue, you don't need to fake it. You don't need to manipulate anything. I watched Michael Moore distort the truth in Bowling for Columbine. I watched how he edited it, and I watched all of the assumptions that he made, and I thought, it's so dishonest. It's so unbelievably dishonest. And I don't have to be dishonest. I can be perfectly honest. As I've said many times, the nice thing about being conservative is you get to say one thing and then do the same thing. So we don't need propaganda. We just need truth. And storytelling is about heroism and courage and sacrifice and honesty and integrity and all of these things are anathema to the people who are trying to destroy these things. And ultimately, storytelling is about an individual, and that's the thing they hate most is individualism. They can't stand it. They're collectivists. Individualism is the death of them. So of course they have to try to destroy the mythology, because the mythology is about the anathema of everything they believe in. That's why they have to control it and manipulate it and change it. They want to have a strong, powerful girl boss of color in Star Trek Discovery. So instead of writing an interesting character, in the case of Michael Burnham, instead of writing an interesting character and taking a season or two to build this character up through hardships and setbacks, they just wave their magic wand and say, this is Spock's sister. It's cheap. It's stolen valor is what it is. Stolen affection. It's like, oh, he's Spock's sister. Yeah. Didn't mention that he had a black sister, but yep. Basically taught Spock everything he knows. It's just cheap. It's just cheap, lazy, stupid, obnoxious, nasty garbage. And Gumman says, how would you define the difference between propaganda and gaslighting? I would call Michael Burnham a perfect example of gaslighting. Oh yeah, Spock's always had a sister. You didn't know that? No. He's always had a black sister. no, I didn't say stolen valor is the essence of propaganda. I'm saying stolen valor is what they did with this business of, in that case, and in the latest Indiana Jones movie, you've got this skinny, nasty, obnoxious British chick who's going around with Indiana Jones and out Indiana Jonesing Indiana Jones. She's tougher, she's smarter, she's more physical, she's carrying him around, she's saving his life. It's stolen valor. She's like a remora, like a suckerfish that's attached itself to this icon of Indiana Jones, and is trying to steal all of the affection and respect and admiration that got built up over the course of 3 really good movies. Well, 2.5 really good movies. I think Indiana Jones. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark. I refuse to call it Indiana Jones and the Raiders. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the greatest films ever made. It's almost perfect. It's just a terrific movie, terrific film, and so the left can't write people like that. The left can't write an Indiana Jones because an Indiana Jones is a straight white male who fights his way out of trouble when he can't think his way out of trouble. They can't write that. So what they do is they take one of their avatars with this insane, ridiculous character, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and they staple her to his back, and then say, "Oh, here, she can have the hat. She's him now." It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's like a pod person. Now she's Indiana Jones. Well, we haven't seen her do jack. Jack, and so, it's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And Kathleen Kennedy, James Blackhawk says, is trying to do that to everything. Kathleen Kennedy has a chip on her shoulder the size of Mount Everest, and Bill, the movie is nothing like that. Yes, it is, Eric. Yes, it is. Phoebe Waller, what's her name, is a slug that is used to Phoebe. What she is she is that bag of sand that Indiana Jones places on the pedestal in the first movie, So you can have whatever opinion you want, but she is clearly intended to be his replacement, and she is just like Rey Skywalker, another ridiculous character. She is the yes, I watched the movie. The movie was a horrendous piece of crap. It was horrible. It was like what they did on South Park with the previous one with Crystal Skull. You have to watch I have to watch an Indiana Jones movie, and he's a beaten, broken down guy on a bus. It's just the destruction of the existing character and replacement with the pod person. So, I don't know how you can argue that that's not the case. So this is what they do. They take a character like Luke Skywalker, and then they make a character called Rey, who's better than him at everything, and she don't need a man. She's never ever been in a non-derelict starship before, or spaceship before, but she's able to walk into the Millennium Falcon and fly it better than Han Solo. What do you call that? It's not just Mary Sue. It's replacement. It's stolen valor. We know what the Falcon is, and we know what it takes to fly the Falcon. We know you have to be, a Sierra Hotel pilot to fly the Falcon, and she flies the Falcon the way that nobody else can. It's just plain thievery, and there's no sugarcoating it. So there's no question that all of these characters are being replaced. Captain America is being replaced. They're all being replaced. There was talk about James Bond, Doctor Who. Okay, Doctor Who. Well, we have Doctor Who for however many generations, 12 generations of Doctor Who, and then we have a woman Doctor Who, and then we have a gay black Doctor Who. And Doctor Who isn't gay, and he isn't black, and he isn't a woman. He's Doctor Who. And and it's stealing because they can't write anything better. They don't have the ability. They don't have the chops. They don't have life experience. Nothing. Uh, Dave Boutte says Doctor Who is dead to me, and I'm a Whovian from the time I was 7. Yeah, well, I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but it's pretty clear what's going on. So, yeah, I just it's vandalism. It really is vandalism. It's like spray painting. It's like spray painting a dirty word over the Mona Lisa. You know, it's just that success appropriation. Road Rider says that's a great term, actually. Yeah, conservatives, meaning storytellers, have built up this character over 50 or 60 years, and now we're going to parasitically invade that host organism and make it do things that it would never do because this is the political outcome we want. So it's just garbage. It's all hot garbage. And so people get angry, and then they get filled with despair, and then finally they reach the point where we are now, which is nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter anymore. It's ruined. It's done. And even retconning it, there's talk that on Star Trek Lower Decks, which isn't Star Trek and has no business being called Star Trek. It's just you know, it's just plain snark. It's snark. It's not serious. It takes Star Trek as a joke, and its entire purpose is to mock what it is because of the self-hatred of the left. So they're saying, well, geez, maybe this whole thing with the whole Star Trek Discovery thing timeline was a alternate universe, and they're trying to retcon Discovery away. But the spore drive, really? We're going to travel through the galaxy because a guy plugs into something, and this man's husband is there providing emotional support. That's what drives the Discovery through the galaxy. And the thing does this thing. What is that? What is it? It's not Star Trek. It's not serious. It's lazy, and it's stupid. And those are the two cardinal sins in this business. It's just stupid, lazy storytelling. And oh my God. Yeah, Dallas the first retcon, exactly. And somebody in Star Trek Discovery universe, some creature has a hissy fit, has a mental breakdown, and in the course of their temper tantrum, this wave expands out throughout the galaxy and destroys all the dilithium because one creature had a emotional meltdown. That's just plain. That's just, it's just garbage. And how do you undo that? So time for something new, and that's what I'm working on, and it's there's just so much work to be done. It's unbelievable. So I think it's probably a good chance for me to exit stage right here. Yeah, P7 2017 and YouTube says lazy and stupid may be cardinal sins, but at the executive level, they pay really well. They do pay really well. No, of course, no hard feelings, Eric. We have spirited discussions on the show, and that's what the show's all about. That's one of my favorite things about Stratosphere Lounge is being able to disagree with you know, it's nice talking to people who have a different opinion of mine, and I always enjoy speaking with people who are wrong. It's cathartic in a way. Up, Littleton is here. I'm currently back in Europe and can't wait to listen to this from the beginning. Thank you for all you do with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Littleton. We played my favorite episode of the micro thing earlier, and I hope you get a kick out of that because I thought that was really quite fun and really looking forward to getting this thing up and running. So I've still got some work to do with the. Well, I've got a lot of work to do. I just have to get another right angle out the door and other things before I can leave. So I'm going to be here for another couple hours at least, I think. So I think probably at this time we got through all the questions. That's good. And thank you very much for yes, thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. You have changed my mind on a couple of occasions. Marusha too. And that's not easy to do because I'm right so often. I'm right all the time. In fact, I'm never wrong. I'm always right. I'm right by definition. And I think at this point, it's fair to say that you can call me, you can call me, what would be a good name? Call me Shadur Whittle. Just call me Shadur Whittle. That's the name I'm going on from now on. That's my professional name. I'm changing it officially. Shadur Whittle is my name, and I'm never wrong. And my new logo is a $ cubed. See what I did there? Nope. All right, enough of this nonsense and silliness. It's been a pleasure speaking with everybody. Thank you for the kind words regarding all this. I can't get over how white my hair looks. It doesn't change color. It just, I don't know, product. I don't know what it is. It just looks white today. I think I need a haircut. I know I need a haircut, and I'm not scheduled till the 9th of May, and that's too long. I'm going to see if I can sneak in and get it trimmed up because it's starting to look a little foofy. Anyway, thank you all for being here as usual. Thanks especially to our members for staying with us, and we are looking forward to seeing if we can talk some of you into becoming members, and God knows we need them. So we'll see. Yes, Natasha actually will be posting again soon. Natasha and I together finished her latest called on the Emerald Ocean, which I think she's probably posting right about now. So I think it looks good. It sounds good, and I love working with her on them. So on the Emerald Ocean is coming soon, and I'm trying to convince her to. She's done sound bowls, which she's in, and that is a real sight to see. She's just so beautiful in those things. I'm trying to get her to post that too. So it's nice to see the artist at work. Okay, so thanks for joining us. Thanks, members, for everybody, and we will see you on Thursday night for your very own Stratosphere Lounge. Okay, YouTube. Now that they're gone, we have to have a talk. They're getting out of hand over there. We're going to have to infiltrate, and there's going to have to be some head smacking going to be done. Thanks for being here, guys, and we'll see you on Thursday night.